You're going in the Army and you're interested in what's the food going to be like? What am I going to be eating on a daily basis? Well, don't worry, you're not going to be stuck with MREs all the time. So let's kind of dive into what your options might be when you're in the Army. What's up, my friends? US Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and I have done a video before talking about food and basic training, but some people might want to know, well, what it's like after basic training. What are my options for eating, I guess, when I get out of the basic training, the initial kind of training in the Army? Well, let me get you informed. Let me get you up to speed on what that might be, what your options could be. But before I do so, take a look down below. Are you subscribed to this channel? If you're not, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, hit the bell button, check out the links in the description, all sorts of stuff. Let's talk about what your options could look like when you're actually at your unit outside of initial training and at your duty station in the Army. So let's start off with some easy ones, okay? When you are at your unit, you are free to kind of have a lot of options, all right? There's really probably three main ones that I can kind of think of that would be your possibilities for like eating, for when it comes to breakfast, lunch, or dinner. First one is you're free to go where you want, as long as it's not off limits, as long as you're gonna be able to go there and be able to get back in time of when you're supposed to be back after, you know, let's say it's lunch or breakfast or whatever. If it's for dinner, then it probably doesn't really matter too much, but for the most part, you can go wherever you want. If you want to go off post and go get some McDonald's, you want to go to a restaurant, you want to eat somewhere on post and need the PX, you're free to do that if you really want to. Those are just really limitations that you have, like when you're in basic training, AIT, that kind of a thing, where you don't have that luxury to be able to do that kind of a thing. But when you're actually at your unit, if you want to go eat at whatever restaurant, whatever fast food place, whatever, that's completely fine, as long as it's not some kind of off-limits establishment or it's not something that's too far away that's going to prevent you from being able to make it back in time, I guess. So that's one really common option of the three. The second one is if you want to just make your own lunch, put it in a bag, put it in a little cooler or whatever, and bring it with you for like breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you're working some kind of, weird shift where you're gonna have to, have dinner and then still be back at work, then you can do that. You can make your own food if you want to. There's people that I knew did that. I would do that a lot of times for lunch kind of a thing. I save money rather than going and, out to eat all the time. Just pack some kind of lunch inside of a cooler, leave it in my car, keep it nice and cold, hopefully with some ice packs. And during lunch, I'd go and eat my lunch in my car and take a little nap during lunch too. That's actually sometimes what I still do even nowadays type of thing, but there are a lot of people that just simply make their own kind of lunches. Lunch is usually the most common one. Breakfast may be kind of a thing, you get some kind of thing to go or whatever and bring it with you as you're heading back to work. And then lunch, maybe you brought some kind of food, and then dinner, usually go home anyways or back to the barracks, whatever you're gonna do. But if you had something where you had to, eat dinner there and then return back to work because you had some shift going on or you had a lot of things going on, so you had a long day, then yeah, that's totally something you could easily do. And then of course that third one is the Chow Hall. Whether you are married or single, you can eat inside the Chow Hall. It just kind of varies as to how things work if you are in one of those categories. If you are a married soldier or you are someone that is receiving BAS, which is the basic allowance for subsistence, the extra pay to be able to pay for your food, well then you're gonna have to pay to eat in the Chow Hall, which it's actually pretty cheap, but you do have that option to be able to do that, whether it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. If you are a single soldier, then you are considered what's called like a meal card holder. They used to actually have like a little meal card. Now it's usually just done with the ID card. So they swipe your ID card or do something with your ID card to be able to scan it to make sure that you're not receiving BAS. So that way, if you're gonna, get it for free, then you get it for free. But if you're someone that's getting BAS, then they like, wait a minute, buddy, you need to pay for this meal. So they do have this little system they do to make sure that you are someone that is authorized to get your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever it is, for free. I know people will argue about the whole term free kind of a thing. I guess it's paid for in taxes. Some people will argue that, well, on my LES, which is like your pay stub, I see that it got taken out of my pay. Well, not really. I've had this argument before. Technically the way the current Army does it is they give everybody BAS, so that everybody gets that food allowance, but the only people that actually get to keep it are those that are authorized, whether it's because they're married, because they're officers, because they're higher ranking, because they were authorized through the chain of command, whatever the case is, and then everybody else, it gets taken back out. So it never goes in your bank account. It doesn't come out of that base pay for whatever your rank is. It's just a separate thing that everybody gets paid, and then only those that are authorized to have BAS get to keep it, and everybody else gets taken out. So it never even touched your bank account. So in my opinion, I don't feel like you ever got it. You never received that money. So yes, I feel like in my opinion that you're eating in the Chow Hall for free. It's included in your job, I guess you could say. So nonetheless, if you are a meal card holder, it's included. So you can go eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner and not have to pay anything for it. So let's talk about the food inside the Chow Hall, and the food is pretty decent. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but it's not the worst either. Usually they have multiple options. I even talked about this in the basic training food one. Same kind of options usually at duty station because it's a Chow Hall in general, right? You have usually your short order and your main line. Your main line is typically your healthier types of foods. So the things that they feel is more healthier kinds of meals and everything that you might commonly see in the main line. And then the short order is kind of like your fast food stuff. You'll see like pizza and hot dogs and cheeseburgers and all that kind of a thing, French fries, usually in the short order. A lot of Chow Halls will also mix it up with a lot of other kind of things. They have like surf and turf area. Sometimes they'll have like a sandwich bar. They'll have like a salad bar, all that kind of thing. So even if you have like special diets you like to abide by, maybe you're vegan, maybe you're vegetarian, they usually have options for everybody in the Chow Hall. So you should be covered. They have drinks and everything too, free refills basically, that nobody really kind of judges, usually, how many refills you're getting. They have usually desserts and everything. And there are ways you can go back for seconds. I think people asked me before about, getting seconds, from the Chow Hall, and sometimes you can. I mean, not really usually going back into the main line or the short order line to get seconds, but like certain items you easily could get seconds. Like if it's like a salad bar or it's like desserts or something like that, then nobody's really usually kind of monitoring those. So it's usually pretty easy to get seconds if that was something you wanted to do. But your breakfast is just usually your common stuff. There's usually no difference in breakfast. There's usually just the basic eggs, bacon, sausage, that kind of stuff, pancakes, maybe French toast or whatever. And they do usually sometimes have like an omelet area. So if you want to have an omelet made, you can have that done. So breakfast is usually your basic breakfast stuff. Lunch and dinner, pretty close to the same, right? You probably could have the same thing for lunch as you do have for dinner. A lot of that kind of meals are usually around the same. There are a few locations I've seen where they actually have midnight chow, so they actually have it like later in the evening. I know that was a big thing like in Iraq and on deployments, but I've even seen it stateside too, at some locations where they have units that have like maybe like a very busy schedule for certain individuals. They may have a select Chow Hall, maybe it's only one Chow Hall or whatever the thing is, where that Chow Hall is actually even open late in the evening for soldiers that maybe work like late shifts, for MPs or for whatever the case was. But I haven't seen a whole lot of installations do that, but I have seen some actually do that. But all of that is usually when you're in garrison, right? It is different when you're in the field. When you're in the field, then you usually have like the cooks that are making food out in the little kitchens that they have. So they might have like breakfast and dinner for you, and then yeah, you're probably stuck with an MRE for lunch kind of a thing. Or depending on what your mission is, you may just be stuck with MREs for the entire day. It really just kind of depends on kind of where the cooks are set up at and what you're doing on that field problem. And that's usually the time that it kind of ends up kind of changing things a little bit based on the scenario I was talking about before. Usually during a field problem, it's a little hard to bring your own food and bring enough food for that kind of time frame to be able to cook it if you need to cook it type of thing. So you're usually stuck with a Chow Hall type of thing. You don't have to worry about like paying for it. If you are a married soldier and you're receiving BAS, you do still are able to get that Chow Hall food. I think they actually take away some of your BAS. Don't quote me on that one, but I feel like I remember that they take away some of your BAS if you're in the field. But I think that also sometimes depends on if the leadership put in the paperwork to kind of halt it for that time period or prorate it. But nonetheless, you're covered. You'll be able to have food while you're in the field, even if you're a married soldier or a single soldier. During deployment, it's usually actually pretty cush. You usually have a pretty good meal if you're on the main fob. It's usually when you're away from the main fob that it maybe doesn't get as good, but usually the main fob is sometimes better than the Chow Halls they have back in the States. I remember they had like every Wednesday was steak and lobster day and shrimp and everything. And you had like multiple times for the Chow Halls because of missions going on. So you had like breakfast chow, lunch chow. They had like a one between lunch and dinner. There was like a sandwich bar type of thing. You had dinner, then you had midnight chow. So there was like plenty of opportunities to get food if you're on that main installation. If you were not, you're out on mission, you're at more of these remote cops or fobs or something like that, then sometimes there was like food being brought out to you, or maybe you had your own cooks with you that kind of made some food. There was, not a whole lot of choices. You pretty much had one choice of what you were having for dinner that day, and you just kind of had to roll with that. So it does change up a little bit, whether you are deployed in the field or back in what we call garrison. You're not in a field environment, not deployed. You have a lot more options, obviously, when you're not deployed or in the field, but it does get a little bit limited when you're in the field or on a deployment type of thing. But even with the deployments, I feel like it usually is pretty good food. Again, assuming that you're on like one of those main kind of areas. For my veterans out there, what was your favorite type of food that you ate in the Army? What was your option? Did you prefer to go out to eat for lunch maybe bring your own food, maybe eat in the Chow Hall all the time? What was your kind of go-to choice for that kind of scenario? For my veterans out there, what was your favorite type of food that you ate in the Army? What was your option? Did you prefer to go out to eat for lunch maybe bring your own food, maybe eat in the Chow Hall all the time? What was your kind of go-to choice for that kind of scenario? Me personally, I did the Chow Hall for a long time in my Army career, and I get to a point where I was just sick of the Chow Hall. So I think my last maybe 4 years, maybe or so in the Army, I didn't go to the Chow Hall anymore. I think I just quit Chow Hall. I was not eating the Chow Hall anymore. I was sick of it, even though the food wasn't bad, but just mentally, I was just tired of going to the Chow Hall, I guess. So for like the last 4 years, I think in the Army, I never ate in the Chow Hall anymore. I would usually either go out to eat or I'd make my own food and bring it with me, kind of a thing. So let me know down in the comment section down below what your preferred method is or was or going to be, whatever the case might be. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you show some love by hitting the thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, even if it's just to satisfy the algorithm gods to recommend the video to other people. If you want to check out some more of my content, I got a video right here that I highly recommend. Thanks for hanging out, thanks for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.